Is there any English learning advice that you hear a lot on YouTube or online that you actually disagree with?
Disagree with?
If you have to start from zero, your English brain is reset. What are you going to do in the first 3 months?
First of all, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that'd be terrible, right?
Yeah.
It'd be
First
horrible.
3 months.
Yeah. 안녕하세요 여러분. 저는 영어로 가장 쉽고 재밌게 가르쳐주는 미국인 션쌤입니다. 반갑습니다. Hello.
Hello.
안녕하세요.
안녕하십니까.
Are you Korean?
네, 한국 사람입니다.
Okay.
네.
But you speak English so well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm here with the amazing, the famous, the very inspiring, putting you on the spot again, Jennie. Jennie, could you please just introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi everyone, my name is Jennie and I was born and raised in Korea. I run a YouTube channel called Hello Jennie.
Hi guys, this is Jennie. Welcome to the first day of our new 100-day challenge. When you read out loud, you're using at least like 3 senses: your eyes, your ears, and your mouth. So your brain is fully occupied and there's no room for other thoughts to come in. I know that she values that so much, so when we're going on a travel, she is in charge of like looking for the restaurants and I'd be happy to just follow her.
I taught myself English speaking in Korea, so on my channel I share tips and experiences learning English only in Korea. So yeah, thank you very much and thank you for having me.
There's a lot of YouTubers in Korea. They're teaching English and many of them are very good, but you are one of the best speakers I've heard. Actual English speakers, someone who's studied from zero to fluency, all in Korea, right?
All in Korea.
Do you think that you just worked hard? Do you think you are linguistically gifted?
Okay, so I don't think I'm linguistically gifted. Like, I just proved it. I'm not gifted. I have this trait where I can just watch the same thing over and over again and I don't get tired of it. And I think that has played a really big role in language learning. So yeah, I just worked hard, I would say.
What was the show or drama or movie that you just kept watching over and over?
Don't judge me, but
All right.
I watched Desperate Housewives.
What?
Well, I get that a lot, so yeah.
Just kidding. Desperate Housewives. Tell me more. Why? Why was it interesting? And tell me how that helped you with English.
Okay, so it all started from my dad. So he used to watch a lot of like American TV shows. So he recommended me Friends and Desperate Housewives to improve my English and stuff. So I gave both of them a go. And I didn't really like Friends.
Why
it's
not?
A hot take, but
How do you tell them why?
but when I started learning English, it was back in 2017, and I just turned 20, and my English wasn't great at all. I couldn't get the joke. You know how Friends, they always have like a canned laughter, and I couldn't laugh with them, and I was so mad at myself for not laughing. So I'm like, okay, I'm not watching this. And then I gave the Desperate Housewives a shot, and I really loved it. I love the characters, and also they have like this joke like I can really relate to.
With the humor.
Yeah, the humor. I really like their humor.
So you found what you liked and you just kept watching it over and over and over.
That's right.
Is that hard for some people?
I didn't realize it until I actually started making videos about that. People commented like, this is very hard for me. But
It's boring or what?
Yeah. Sometimes people find it boring to watch the same thing over and over again and like for 100 times, because that's what I said, you know, like you have to watch it 100 times. That is just a symbolic number. You don't have to watch it 100 times, but until you memorize all the lines, but that's like enough to watch like so many times.
Got you. So that you can kind of like follow along with the characters. You're teaching classes offline and you also obviously make YouTube videos. What advice do you give to students who are saying, I agree with you, I know I should watch this show 100 times, but I just can't? What's your advice to them?
The one thing I always tell them is to find what you're interested in. It can be something minor, like a sci-fi movie or a fantasy movie. I don't personally recommend that, but if that's something that can get you into this shadowing and then improve, like make it a start, then I would always recommend them to watch that first.
Why don't you recommend sci-fi?
Because they have so many like difficult lingos
That's a good point.
you don't normally use in your daily lives. So if you're desperate to improve your everyday English speaking skills, it's better to go with casual TV shows.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't really click with you, then if you don't have any choice, I mean, that's
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, yeah.
영어로 들으면 어떤 말인지 대충 알겠는데 입으로 말하려고 하면 말문이 막히시죠? 그래서 제가 줌으로 진행하는 1대1 코칭을 시작했습니다. 개인 맞춤 피드백을 받고 빠르게 실력을 올리고 싶은 분들께 정말 좋아요. 하지만 오프라인으로 배우는 걸 더 좋아하시는 분들도 계시죠? 홍대 신촌 인근에서 소수정예 스피킹 그룹 수업을 진행하고 있습니다. 90분 꽉 채워 영어로 말하는 연습을 합니다. 영어를 자연스럽게 말하고 싶으신 분들은 아래 링크에서 자세히 확인해 보세요. 소수 정원으로 빠르게 마감될 수 있습니다. See you in class.
When Koreans or even native speakers listen to you speak English, what do they mostly compliment you on?
I think my pronunciation. Because first of all, when you talk with someone, this is the one thing that you can notice like right away. Because like if you want to compliment on how they make the English sentences, then you have to like talk with them for a while.
Great point.
Yeah. Like I just say, "Hi, my name's Jennie," and then like, "Oh, have you lived in the States?" I'm like, "No." I really appreciate that, but sometimes it really pressures me.
Yeah.
Because I have to show them that like my English is actually good, like as good as my pronunciation, but it is not, so it's like kind of awkward, but yeah, that's the thing that I get the most, I think.
I would agree. That's the one thing that stuck out to me when I saw you on YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a point where you felt like burned out, you hated English, and you just like, I don't want to do this right now, or I suck at English, and you lost a lot of motivation? Was there ever a time like that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of
tell
course.
me about it.
But you know, like that time comes and goes.
Yeah.
Normally, but there's this one time, like it hits me so hard. Back in 2024, I went to this one meetup for the English content creator, and I got to meet like so many English content creators, amazing content creators there. But they're like gyopos. So they're both fluent in like both languages. They're fluent in both languages.
Oh,
Yeah, and then I know that they are always saying like, "Oh, your English is so good. Like it's so good for a Korean who never lived abroad." I didn't really like the title, but still that's a compliment. So I'm like, "Okay, thank you." But still inside I'm like, "Oh wow." Like I could feel really like such a big gap between me and the gyopos, and they genuinely didn't think so, but I could feel that.
You could feel it.
Yeah. And then normally people would say like, "Oh, Jennie, your English is good too. Like their English is good, your English is good. Both are good." But I could personally feel the gap, and I started to compare myself with them a lot. I had this compulsion. Even if I'm hanging out with my friends, I feel like I have to go back home and then like work on my English more than just like enjoying time with them.
Yeah.
And it was very awkward, and I was under a lot of stress for almost a year. But now I kind of got over it, and I just accepted that I cannot be perfect, and yeah, that kind of frees me up.
Yeah, right. I think that's really lovely, because if you always try to be perfect and you're always critical of yourself and focusing on your own mistakes, one, that's like a really unhappy life.
No.
But two, like your English is so good. I don't like to use the word good enough, but you're better than good enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your current level is a great goal for learners in Korea, which brings me to why I think you're unique. If you compare yourself to gyopos, right, they grew up speaking English, right, in America, right? So of course they're gonna have that native advantage. But how does that help a learner in Korea? The learner in Korea can't say, "Oh, I'm gonna be born again in the US." You can't follow that method. They can follow your method. You're a better role model for a lot of people in that way. So that's your strength.
Thank you. I feel much better now too.
Are you thinking of ever learning any other languages?
I'm doing Duolingo, learning Japanese on it, so yeah.
Oh, very cool. So how many languages do you want to speak by the time you are 90 years old and you're dead? English, Japanese, Korean, what else?
I once thought of learning Italian or Spanish, but I couldn't, because I felt like I have to make my English perfect first and then move on. Here's the compulsion. Yeah. But yeah, I would like to speak at least 5 languages.
Can you do this? Okay, pretty
Yes.
good.
Yeah, I cannot do it for longer than this. Yeah.
That will help you with Spanish.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I'll work on it now.
Do you find it different speaking English in Korea with Koreans to speaking English with native English speakers?
It's totally different.
Okay.
It is totally different.
Yeah.
That is actually something that I'm still struggling with. I thought my English is good enough. I mean, my English is good enough, but when I speak with native speakers, there is this cultural part too, right? But then, like, I understand every single word they're saying, but I just don't understand the context. So sometimes like I find it hard to jump in the conversation because I don't know what they're talking about. But with Koreans, we know everything. Yeah, even the Konglish, we know everything. We get each other, so it's much more comfortable for me to talk with Korean in English.
That makes sense. Is there any English learning advice that you hear a lot on YouTube or online that you actually disagree with?
Disagree with? I'm pro shadowing, right?
Yeah.
But there are some people who think like shadowing is useless because you're not going to be anything more than a parrot. That's their argument.
Is that the argument?
Because shadowing is like the nature of it is that you watch the show and then you copy what the actors are saying.
Right.
And if you don't know how to use that sentence in your real life, then it's just like the one sentence that you memorize but cannot actually put to use. But for me, it's really, really helpful because you can learn a phrase not from a textbook, not from a 단어장. You can learn that phrase through the situation in the movie.
The context.
In the context. So it's way better to acquire the phrase and use it in your real life. That's what I think.
So some people really are not big fans of shadowing.
No.
They think it's not useful. But maybe you can say you're living proof that it is useful.
Living proof, yeah. I understand their argument though, because they have limited time and energy. They want to learn something they can use right away. I get it. So language learning is something that you have to think in a long term, I would say.
Yeah, think about in a long-term sense. Sure. I'm going to give my hot take.
Okay.
I don't really trust people who say I can learn English in 3 months or 6 months, or I can learn a language in a year.
Yes.
I know because I've been studying, Spanish all throughout elementary, middle, high school, and Korean now for 12 years. I know how hard it is to learn a language. Pronunciation, grammar, word choice, intonation. There's just so many things. Cultural references, humor.
Yes.
You can't do that in a year. And maybe you can learn survival English or something. Going along with you have to think about it in like a long-term sense.
Yes.
It takes years to get good at something. Like I talk about jujitsu a lot because I find there's a lot of connections between language learning. You can't get a black belt in 1 year. You can get pretty good in 1 year if you really work hard, but it's almost like trying to grow a tree by giving it more water. You can't like give it more water and more sunlight. It's going to grow. It might grow actually a little faster with more water and a ton of sunlight, but it's still going to take time to grow, right? And so language learning is something like going to the gym and making a really nice body takes years. You ask like bodybuilders, it takes like 20, 30 years, and they're like, yeah, I've been working out since I was 15, I'm 40 now, and they're in great shape, but it's insane, right?
Yeah.
They're like, my goal is to build 1 kilogram of muscle this year. It's like now he has so many kilograms of muscle,
Yeah.
That's my point. Yes, that's my hot take.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You agree? Okay.
Luckily, I don't disagree with that.
Do you really agree?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Because I spent almost like the entire my 20s in learning English.
And you learned English too throughout school, at least basic English.
Basic English, yes.
Yeah, so you weren't starting from zero.
Yes. I had some grammar knowledge, some vocabularies, but my 성적, my grade wasn't that great. It's not like 1등급, Yeah. But when I was in high school, I couldn't speak at all. I wanted to, but I just couldn't because I didn't get a chance to. And there was this one friend, like she was in the class, and she actually watched a lot of like American TV shows, and she knew how to speak this, and I'm like, that could be it. But I just didn't really think about it because I was so busy focusing on 수능, 수능 영어. Yeah, I had to do that first. But then after I turned 20, my dad gave me this book that kind of says about shadowing and watching TV shows, how that can improve your speaking skills and stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. Does your dad speak English as well?
Decent.
Yeah,
Decent. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And your mother?
No.
Not as much. Okay, so you get your language ability from your dad.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
The genes.
Well, yeah, because like he speaks Japanese really well.
There we go. Okay, that's where you get it. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have to start from zero, your English brain is reset. What are you going to do in the first 3 months?
First of all, I don't want that to happen.
That'd be terrible, right?
Yeah.
It'd be
First
horrible.
3 months.
Yeah.
Your point was like you cannot master a language in 3 months, but I think if you put most of the waking hours of your day into English only, then I think like even within 3 months you can get to the level where you can kind of like speak a little bit. So I would just watch a lot of content.
What if it's too hard? Is that still okay?
I mean, the level of difficulty of the content? I would start with something that I can understand first. That's the lesson that I learned from watching Friends. So, so I would maybe, I can give a different TV show a shot, but still I would start with Desperate Housewives. Even Desperate Housewives, I want to forget all the episodes and then start rewatching again, like fresh start, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to feel that feeling that I felt when I started watching that. So I would do that. Watch Desperate Housewives like 14 hours a day.
Right.
I think it's kind of better for us to put many hours as possible in the very beginning of our language learning period than just do like 30-minute or an hour for a year.
Oh.
It's more effective, I think. I know that we cannot physically do that. It's not realistic, but if you can do, then I would recommend you do this. Like,
Love it. Love it. Great advice. Someone who is Korean and they're kind of at a upper beginner, intermediate level and they're feeling stuck. How do I improve? What does Jennie think?
I think this is my recent story.
Okay.
Last year in 2025, up until the point, the only show that I watched was Desperate Housewives. But I started watching like different shows. For example, do you know BoJack Horseman?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't? It's actually a good animated show. That one and also some British shows. I expanded the things that I consume in a day so that I can get used to more like a different accents and different phrases from different shows. Because like at this point, I know what the actor's gonna say in Desperate Housewives, and like I can kind of guess what they're gonna say next while doing a makeup. I'm like, I say it first and then they say it. So I don't feel like I'm learning anymore. It's just my comfort show that makes me feel like I'm learning, but actually I don't really learn.
I see.
So diversify the things that you consume, and also very importantly, meet a native speaker. Like throw yourself out in that zone, coming out of your comfort zone, and then do that. I know that it's scary, but meeting and talk with native speakers is like the best way to.
Super helpful. All right, well, I'm done torturing you. That was a great interview, great conversation about language learning. A lot of super helpful tips. Again, please follow Jennie on her social media, Instagram, YouTube. I'll put the links down below, obviously. And you are Korean, right?
네,
한국 사람 맞죠?
한국 사람 맞습니다.
Okay. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Okay. That was great.